Mia Amor-Motley, QC, MP, Prime Minister of Barbados. The Honorable Tony Moore, MP, General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union. Mr. Matt Klein, Director, International Public Sector from Coursera. Dr. Alison Leacock, the Director of the National Transformation Initiative. Mrs. Marcel Greenidge, Assistant Director of the National Transformation Initiative. Colleagues from Coursera, esteemed members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Y'all, I feel real good I get our protocol thing right, yeah? It really is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. My name is Raphael Saul. I am honored to serve as one of two assistant directors at the National Transformation Initiative with responsibility for the BEST program, implementation, and strategic partnerships. But this afternoon, I am honored to be able to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for this press conference. Established under a broad mandate to retool, empower, retrain, and enfranchise every Barbadian worker in the public sector, the private sector, the third and the informal sectors, the National Transformation Initiative has been making significant strides in equipping every Barbadian with the knowledge and skills to be citizens of good character, confident, creative, fit and ready to function in a globalized, digital, and ever-changing world. One of our distinguished team members happens to be a face and a name very familiar to many of you, our director, Dr. Alison Leacock. And I invite her at this time to bring the welcoming remarks and the necessary introductions. Dr. Leacock.
Thank you very much, Raphael. My days of broadcasting are long gone when we have Rafi. So, Honorable Prime Minister, it is our pleasure to have you join us this afternoon. Honorable Tony Moore, we're happy to be in person this year after last year virtually. Matt Klein, it is wonderful to welcome you and the rest of the Coursera team to Barbados. I'd like to invite the three of you seated in the audience to stand. Patrick Whitaker, we call him a Bajan with a name like Whitaker. Nicole Amaral and Chad Pasha. Let's give them a Bajan welcome. Thank you. Lovely to have you here. And of course, at the very end, I don't know if to call her my right or my left hand, but Marcel and Raphael are my right and left hands at NTi. So we are all here delighted that what a difference a year makes. 1 year ago, we were virtually very graciously embraced by the Barbados Workers' Union for our launch of this significant and groundbreaking partnership with Coursera. Coursera is our largest online and certainly the most respected online provider for e-learning in the world. So imagine 166 square miles being a partner and being able to integrate our systems so that we could make all of those courses available to all of us. So 1 year later, we are face to face. We are actually seeing a number of the team from Coursera in person after being online for over a year as we planned it. But most importantly, we were also thrilled that our Prime Minister was able to join with the CEO of Coursera to make this official announcement to Barbados and indeed the rest of the world. We also had the distinction of having our Prime Minister being invited to give the keynote at this year's annual conference of Coursera, and all the feedback has been, as we all expect. She is our premium star Bajan. But as we expect, the response has been quite phenomenal about the inspiration of her messaging. And therefore, for us, this afternoon is not only a celebration, but it is an opportunity for us to express gratitude. Gratitude to the over 24,000 of you in Barbados who have decided that you are going to come on this journey with us to transform you first, your communities, and your country. To the 15,000 plus who have definitely said, you love the citizenship course, we love you back, and we want to encourage more of you to ensure that you take that course. It is the bookend for government's construction training initiative, so it is one of the requirements for you to take that course. And then after you've taken the construction gateway training, you have the opportunity to upscale if you decide that you want to be, whether you want to be a supervisor or a manager in construction, and you can go on our platform, the NTi Coursera platform, and take that construction management course that is offered by Columbia University. So it's one neat package, and that is what we have been promoting. We've had a really busy week. They haven't had much time to breathe. We've met with a number of ministries, 8 in all, and we have met a number of the technical teams within ministries, but also members of cabinet who have demonstrated and articulated their vision for this country that aligns with what we are doing as the NTi in partnership with Coursera. When we started, we had only 8 courses on our learning management system, but obviously we wanted to reach scale, and the way to do so was to go online with people who have done this already. So why reinvent the wheel? What they did do that was particularly pleasing to us is offer us a number of opportunities to customize our content so that it is relevant to our needs in Barbados, and therefore you have the opportunity for guided projects, you can do private authoring, and of course, they're going to be launching some exciting things today, so let me not steal that thunder. But there's some things in the pipeline that I think will excite all of you. So those of you who are here, tell a friend. Those of you who are with us online, tell a number of friends. I hope you're all watching. Training.nti.org.bb. Training.nti.org.bb. And that is your gateway to transforming your skills and transforming your life. And we look forward to an exciting session this afternoon. This is the formal part of our proceedings, and when we are through here, we will be rolling into the roadshow, and then you get all the details of exactly what you do, how you do it, and what we provide to support you as you make that choice in becoming a star Bajan. So a warm welcome to all of you. We are going into all 30 constituencies. So today, this is actually also one of our roadshows in St. George North. And therefore, we've done 8 so far, so a long way to go. We're going to all 30. And we look forward to seeing those of you who are watching us online, or maybe at home, that you will indeed be joining us going forward. So a warm NTi Star Bajan welcome to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Leacock. You did mention that we are heading on our road shows throughout all 30 constituencies in Barbados. We are doing so. We've made it through a number of them. But I think it's significant to point out this afternoon that the constituency that has been chosen for the launch of Phase 2 of our Coursera partnership, and the one that has now been graced by the presence of our very own Prime Minister, is the constituency in which I live, St. George North. And it is also significant, not just because it's where I live, it's also significant because the gentleman who will speak to you next fell in love on an island tour a few days ago with Carter's turnovers from the bakery right around the corner and fish cakes that were being sold by the lady who was right at the front of the bakery. So I am pleased to invite an honorary Barbadian now for sure, Mr. Matt Klein, who is the director for our International Coursera partnership.
Oh, thank you so much. Dear Prime Minister Motley and all, it's an honor to be with you today. And I have to say, I'm in awe, Prime Minister, of both the challenge you've laid out to your public sector and the small but mighty team at NTi, led by Dr. Leacock, that has been working with cross-functional agencies to implement it. you've laid out an incredible challenge to your country and ministries, a comprehensive retooling of the Bayesian workforce to make it globally fit for purpose. And as you pointed out in your keynote earlier this week, the students on the wrong side of the digital divide have the least access to education and are those who can benefit the most. Digital education is a transformative opportunity for empowerment. And while talent is distributed equally around the world, opportunity is not. Over the past week, we've had the pleasure of meeting with the Ministries of Education, Labor, Youth and Sports, Innovation and Smart Technology, Tourism, Agriculture, Foreign Trade and Business Development, People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, Environment and Beautification, Foreign Affairs, Public Service, the Barbados Community College, and Chamber of Commerce and Industry, representing companies across the country. And again, we heard the same refrain: excitement about the impact of the NTi program, because these are exactly the skills needed in every company, agency, and citizen. I just this morning was speaking with a young woman at the Hilton Hotel who saw my Coursera shirt and was so excited to tell me about all of the courses she was taking using the NTi program. She was taking courses in economics and leadership in the hope of upskilling herself to improve her career. You know, as part of my work, I speak with governments around the world, and I can say unequivocally, Barbados has taken a leading role on the global stage in investing in its human capital for the future. And it's an honor to be a part of this program. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. What has been consistent over the last week as we've been going around to all these various ministries is this message from Coursera. I don't want you to think it's media speak or they're trying to make us feel, good about the visit and the partnership. But it has been significant for us to see and to hear that Barbados is being used as a lighthouse partnership and as a rubric that is now being implemented in countries across the world. And we're honored to be serving in this capacity as well, even in the context of our partnership. I'm pleased to invite now the Member of Parliament for this constituency, the Honourable Tony Moore, to bring her remarks.
Thank you, Raphael. Honourable Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley and other distinguished guests on the head table, ladies and gentlemen, constituents, representatives from the Barbados Workers Union, all, good afternoon. Today's roadshow is as special to me as the launch of this initiative a year ago. Indeed, it was on May Day, as you heard last year, that we launched phase 1 of the Coursera rollout here in Barbados. And a year later, 1 anniversary into the program, I am happy that St. George North, which is another constituency base of mine, is being chosen to roll out phase 2. It speaks for sure of the commitment that the Barbados Workers Union has, and indeed the government and this representative in particular. I think it's no mistake that the center of the island on this occasion has been chosen for the rollout of phase 2 of the program. We are celebrating Coursera's contribution over the last year to developing and upskilling and tooling our people, retooling and uptooling our people to meet the demands of a very changing environment. I'm sure that all of us can remember in not too distant memory when COVID hit us, how companies, institutions, individuals all around this country and around the world had to figure out very quickly how they were going to deliver results, but doing things differently. And Coursera over the last year has assisted many of our people, as you've heard from Matt, and the testimonies that he's been receiving. They've delivered in helping many of our people to access new skill sets, technologies, and to really position themselves to be able to perform in their daily roles. Fast learning, adaptability, and capacity building from all accounts have been found to be central, and we say special thanks to Coursera for assisting us in doing this. We have been impressed to look at the very broad scope of programs that have been offered, not only programs that would assist in preparing our people to participate in what is now known as the distance economy. That is a term that is being used to describe the trend towards limitation of physical interactions, but the programs also speak and represent very broadly access to tool sets, skill sets that can be gained in developing human relations. I think of one that I'm actually interested in doing, and that's one in sign language that is being offered. So there's no end to the range of programs being offered to us through Coursera, and we thank them for it. We understand that building back better requires some behavior shifts and attitudinal changes by workers and by our people generally. And we also recognize that institutions, governments, have a role to play in ensuring that we are ready, not only in terms of telling people that they need to make these changes, but that we are ready in law and practice to provide support to our people. And that's exactly what is being done through the partnership with the Barbados government, through the NTi and Coursera. As a worker representative, and today as the proud parliamentary representative for St. George North, I encourage all of you who are in this room, all those who are in the hearing of our voices online, and all of our people who will hear the testimonies that will be shared through the many who have already participated in these programs, to take the opportunity not to end where you've started, but to take advantage of as many of the courses that are available to you as possible. There's a quote that goes, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. These courses are free, so there's absolutely no excuse. So I urge all of you to get on board. Coursera, the team represented here, please convey our sincere thanks to the wider team back home. Mr. Whitaker, St. George North man, he tells me. Yeah. Thanks for being part of the team and for joining us. And to all of you, thank you. And do enjoy this roadshow.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Tony Moore, General Secretary of the BWU, and also your very own representative for the constituency of St. George North. I'm pleased to invite at this time our very own visionary leader, the Honorable Mia Amor-Motley, QC, MP, Prime Minister of Barbados, to bring her greetings.
Thank you very much, Raphael. Distinguished guests all. Today's been a rough day, and I want to apologize for the late start, because today is the day of cabinet, but today was also the day of a CARICOM heads of government meeting. So between the two, it has delayed me. But I start from that sharing of those points to let you know that I'm not here by accident. I'm here deliberately because I want to be here, and because I want to reinforce from my office the very clear signal that for Barbadians to become global citizens, the only route is through training and education. We must have a commitment to providing for as many of our people who are interested the opportunity to be capable of receiving first and foremost a sound education from pre-primary to tertiary, and thereafter training, not just in the skills that you may want to be able to earn more money, but first and foremost in the skills to make you a better citizen. Citizenship must be active, and that was the determination that we made as a country and as a parliament in November last year when we passed and endorsed the Charter of Barbados as part of a new Republican Barbados parliamentary democracy, because we know As I say all the time, many hands make light work. And therefore we need each and every citizen to be one of those people holding up the building of this country so that your children and grandchildren can inherit a stronger and better place, and that will allow them to be recognized globally wherever they go by not just their name or their nationality, but by their skills and their capacity. A brand is only as real as it is credible. And therefore, if we want to assert that Barbadians can be global citizens with Bajan roots, if we want to assert that Barbadians are capable of commanding jobs wherever they can be found across this world, then we have to ensure that what people see is what they get, and that we deliver on the promise that we can effectively execute. The first case, however, is to do it at home. And that is why I will never forget the 2nd of January 2020, because the challenge I issued to this nation on that date was that we should become world-class within 7 years. We did not know, like with life, that we would be presented with obstacles and challenges almost within a matter of weeks. That was the world's first pandemic in almost 100 years. That we are here today, 26 months after, still standing and still moving ahead, 1 year into this program, speaks to the resilience of our people and the resilience of our nation by extension. That we have accomplished much is a fact, but that we have still far to go is also our reality. We have adjusted the timeline accordingly from 2027 to 2030. And therefore, we expect all Barbadians to step on board, come on board, and to do your part in being able to upskill your own skills, but collectively as a nation, that which we have to offer the world. Last week Friday, and it's too early for me to get into the details of it, but almost every month now, we are being approached by entities looking to be able to establish and have access to our jurisdiction, particularly in the new areas that the global economy wants. There are a lot of skills that are no longer needed. As I reminded members of Cabinet today, the Goddard's Ice House stopped working in the 1930s or 1940s, but that did not stop Goddard's from being a major regional company with establishments in Central and Latin America today, and as a Barbadian company, still headquartered here in Haggett Hall. Had they remained focused on simply producing ice, they would have melted like the very ice into oblivion. The reality is, whether we like it or not, 25 years ago when I first came in, or almost 30, aging myself, into this arena, to make an overseas call was capable of breaking you and the government, because the cost of making that overseas call was prohibitive. Once again, technology has changed all of that to the point where we can sit down here and we're talking to the world right now online without necessarily the kind of costs that were associated with it 25, 30 years ago. Why am I giving you these examples? Because life changes, and the world in which we change is constantly evolving. And the one thing I learned when I was Minister of Education for 7 years is that our responsibility starts first and foremost with giving you a sound education, such that you are capable of being readily retrained at any stage of your development. Because in this world, you are going to have to be retrained at least 3 or 4 times with the pace at which technology is changing all that we do. I watch Adrian at the back, and I thank you publicly for your continued reinforcement of Barbadian values and Barbadian culture. And picking up from people like my own uncle, Ilombe, who carried that for us for decades. And why do I say so? Knowledge divorced from ethics, knowledge divorced from identity is a dangerous tool. It's a dangerous tool. and we see the evidence of it, regrettably, in too many countries globally. One of the reasons why we established, therefore, the citizenship module was to be able to root Barbadians in that sense of identity as to who they are and what they must stand for. And this is not to be taken and hijacked by anybody. Tahir, I see you at the back there too. And 2 years ago, your father gave perhaps one of the most inspiring sermons at a national independence service. But it was in recognition that the world is not made in one color, one shape, one voice, or one form. And the recognition that we have to accommodate each and every one of our people is part and parcel of the journey of development that we must take, not just as a nation, but our communities must take and our individual citizens must take. And the National Transformation Initiative is simply about making Barbados world class by 2030. At that point, like with most other things, we have to set new initiatives. And one of the points that has disturbed me in our independence journey is that having come out of the blocks fast and having done well, we started to settle for less. We started to become complacent. We started to go in, as Kenneth Galbraith would have said, into a culture of contentment. And that is the one thing we cannot do. We have always to recognize that we have to be ahead of the curve and ahead of everything in this world. That smallness can only be an advantage if it allows agility and nimbleness. And if we're not prepared to be agile and nimble, then smallness becomes the biggest albatross around our necks, because it leaves us in a time and a space that does not allow anybody to notice us, because we're just too small to wave our hands or heads or anything. And therefore we have to be known. I'm sad to share this with you. We have to, as small nations, we have to do what women have recognized for millennia, that we have to work twice as hard to be considered half as good. And that is, regrettably, the burden equally of a small state. So what is that? It means that education must matter. And that is why this government, even as we started an IMF program, reintroduced free tertiary education for our citizens. And today, as we speak, 3.5 years later, after the reintroduction of free tertiary education, our numbers at the University of the West Indies in terms of enrollment has considerably grown back by and closed the gap by the almost 40% by which it had declined between 2013 and 2018. Similarly, we must set new targets. Barbados must not only, for example, provide hospitality for hospitality workers in the tourism sector, but we must do it with a difference now. In this world, if we are to give our citizens the opportunity to be mobile and the opportunity to have access to the best jobs, then those skills must now be given bilingually. Because the one thing that we know is that movement of people cuts across boundaries, cuts across languages, cuts across countries. And therefore, Barbados' hospitality industry must set itself a new target of being that entity that provides bilingual training from housekeepers and waiters right back up to those in management and hospitality. You do that, and all of a sudden persons here have opportunities way beyond these shores, but equally, our institutions that are providing the training have the capacity to command a greater clientele because you're offering something unique. Against that backdrop, it is why we, for example, were happy to discuss with the President of Guyana the opportunity to train 6,000 hospitality workers out of Guyana as they continue to grow at an amazingly high speed, with obviously the work that is being done there as a result of the oil industry expanding significantly. Now, all of this does not mean that we ignore core skills. We cannot, because core skills are necessary to continue to build our nation, but at the same time, we have always to be innovating. What are the opportunities that 3D printers allow? What are the opportunities that new materials technology allow? What are the opportunities that we have to solve problems that have been burdensome on our country and our region for too long? I hope that the expression National Transformation Initiative will remind us that this is not simply about training, but it is about transforming people and transforming countries. And to that extent, the partnership with Coursera is welcome, but it is not the only thing we must do. That we have, in the course of the last year, had 15,754 registered students to deal with online safety, 8,138 students, core skills, 5,385, entrepreneurship, 5,956, occupational health and safety, 6,263, citizenship, 14,577, introduction to coding with Java, 4,950, beginner sign language, Tony, 5,220, and personal financial management, 382. My friends, this is without even ramping up seriously, because we were in the middle of Alpha, Delta, and Omicron. Remove those from the equation and begin to understand the implications that these 8 courses, these are just the local ones, I didn't get to Coursera yet, have to be able to upgrade your skills, young and old, middle age and middle young, middle old, whatever you want to call yourself. We are in the business of giving Bajans the opportunity to be the best that they can be, or in the language of NTi, to be star Bajans, so that you can command jobs not just locally, not just regionally, but internationally. I want to say to you that I expect those numbers with financial management to increase, because the Cabinet has already agreed on a new financial literacy program to complement the trust loans program that we have been executing, where we take a chance on ordinary Bajans, from coconut vendors to people frying fish cakes to people doing all kinds of things across the country, because this is how you get to the next level, and our duty is to carry each and every Bajan to the next level. Similarly, I expect that the citizenship modules must be ready for September at both primary and secondary level, so that every student in school at both the primary and then reinforced at the secondary level will have the opportunity to take the citizenship module. And thirdly, I am asking the NTi to enter into discussions with all of our tertiary institutions, public and private, to ensure that the citizenship module becomes a base course, irrespective of whatever else a student is doing. And I am not going to tell you that the Prime Minister is mandating it, but I'm going to tell you that the Minister of Finance is not going to pay for anybody's fees if you don't do the citizenship module. So I hope that we understand and that we're all on the same page. Secondly, with respect to Coursera, the 3-year agreement, and I hope that the 3-year agreement will only be a platform to the next 3-year agreement, is to be able to bring learning and opportunities to you wherever you are. Some of you have children, you're not in a position to take time off full time to go and train and study, because you've got to earn money to keep that household together. We get it. Some of you may be in a job, but you really want to transition into another job that is your passion, and you're not in a position to go and study full time for that. We get you too. Some of you may believe that you want to be able to have a well-rounded approach as a manager to all aspects of the skills that you have to manage in a department. So you may have come up as an accountant, but you really need to know something about HR. You really need to know something about the technical aspects of what you're doing. You don't need to be and to have a doctoral thesis or a master's on it, but you need to have and understand the basic rudiments of what you're dealing with. We get it. And do not believe that as Prime Minister, I feel that I am beyond learning too, because I did the citizenship module, and I am going to be doing some of these things because I feel strongly that my own language skills, for example, need to be amplified again. And just as others want to do things, I feel that I need to be able to continue with making sure that anytime I go in a room, I understand what somebody else is saying. So I'm going to take my time with whatever little time I have and do my own language training and resuscitate my own knowledge of Spanish and French from school. It could be cooking. It could be mechanics. How many Bajans you know decide that they're going to buy a car and fix it up as a special project or a motorcycle? How many people do we know? In my constituency, when we had blackberries, I looked at a youngster one day, and the boy had picked down, as we would say, picked down the entire machine without any manual and put it back up. We have talent. The only thing that's missing is matching the talent with opportunity. This National Transformation Initiative is first about excellence, but it is also about giving Barbadians opportunity. And if we can't do that on this 166 square miles, we're not going to be able to meet the challenges of today's world. So, as they say, you can carry the horse to water. It is up to the horse now to decide whether it can drink the water. And I know that people want to tell me about drinking water and minding their own business, but this is one time I'm minding your business. So I'm carrying you to the water and I'm minding your own business. Why? Because I know, not I feel, I know that 10 years of consistent application is going to make us more than world class. And the same way, and I want to commend the Minister of Tourism and the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, in the same way that we have been able to garner over 1,500 jobs, not low level, but at middle and high levels in the cruise industry for Barbadians, the more you have the skills, the more we're in a position to match you with the jobs that will help make you better. As I said last week, I had an opportunity, it's still early to talk about it, but those of you in the creative economy and in the digital economy can hopefully play a major role globally without having to leave this country. This is what we are about. So, Coursera, thank you very much. Dr. Leacock and your team, thank you very much. Member of Parliament and General Secretary, it is perhaps fortuitous that this was launched in your institution as the Barbados Workers Union last year, 1 year ago, at a time when everyone thought that the future was really, really dim. But it shows that if you keep focus and you keep your head on the right thing, that even in the darkest of days, you can plant the brightest of seeds to grow into the greatest of plants. This initiative is going to be responsible for putting us back as world-class participants. And I say putting us back because my genuine feeling has been that we slipped over the decades out of a culture of contentment. There is no room for complacency in today's world. And nobody owes us a living, and especially as a parliamentary republic now, I say nobody owes us a living. It is up to us. What we put in is what we will get back out. Thank you, and God bless you, and may next year, may we be reporting instead of 15,000 and change for local courses and 24,000 participants for the Coursera courses, can we next year reflect 50,000 for Coursera and 50,000 for the local courses? I don't believe in anybody outpacing us locally. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Mia Amor Motley, QC MP, Prime Minister of Barbados. That's my Prime Minister here. Yeah. Inspiring as always, a conversation that I often have with Adrian, who was mentioned earlier, is what is the path to national transformation? From the time we started with this initiative, what is the path to national transformation? There's only one path, and that's through personal transformation. That's through every one of us as Barbadians, you and I, taking responsibility for our own journeys of growth, development, transformation, learning, upskilling, becoming our best. And that's how we drive the best Barbados. I just opened my, I'm sorry, Prime Minister.
Just one other thing, because I know we're public, but I also want to say this. I want this set of programs and entities to be reflected in every community. And that means that we have to master not only traditional media, social media, but we also have to have physical reminders. So that little boy or girl or that older man or woman walking to the bus, seeing the billboard, seeing the number on it every day, must be reminded and made to feel guilty that the only reason they're not moving to a different level or doing better is their own willingness to say yes to go and learn. It is as easy as saying yes, because this is one of the few governments in the world that has put training and education at the top of the list. And this is not about this government or Mia Mottley. This has been the character of Barbadian people, and it is one of those characteristics that we want to keep going forward. So whatever it takes for you to have billboards and representatives and messaging and things in people's area at all levels, in all dialects, because there's almost a view as well too that if you don't say it in standard English, it's not acceptable. And we know what nation language is. I feel you must know standard English, because without that you can't communicate in the same way I want to communicate Spanish and French. But we must also accept nation language as a valid. I go to the IMF, and more often than not, 80% of the people in the IMF and the World Bank cannot speak standard English because that's not their first language. But it does not stop the conduct of business. And therefore, that's the point that I want to make. So please, can we have the rapid amplification if we're to get to 50,000 on both sides for next year? Thank you.
And so shall it be. Madam Prime Minister, I just opened the Coursera app. And the Coursera app is where I access the courses that I'm currently doing. Once I'm registered through the NTi with Coursera and I download the Coursera app, not only can I access the courses here, but I can also download them for offline use. What does that mean? I'm traveling on the bus, heading into work. You have a little downtime as you're waiting for your child to finish cricket or football. That's all time that you could be learning and upskilling here. Whether you're learning in the blue and green economy, marine technology and business, renewable energy, you want to change or advance your career, grow your business, entrepreneurship, you want to build in the creative economy. I want to shout out a good friend of mine, Akhenaten Burrows, who's in the audience, a creative doing phenomenal work. Building skills for global success, leadership, confidence, emotional intelligence, communication, the Tourism Academy, and as the Prime Minister said, that is not reserved for persons who are currently working in hotels and restaurants only, but it's a part of the transformation of our culture to see all of us as contributors actively to the building of our tourism culture. And this is just those that were rolled out last year, May, to which we've had amazing subscription. As my fellow Assistant Director, Mrs. Marcel Greenidge, comes to move the vote of thanks, she is going to highlight just a few of the areas that are now being added at the launch of Phase 2. And then she will usher us into the question and answer section open to our media and members of the audience. Marcel?
Let me start again. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here as we launched our second phase of courses on the NTi Coursera platform. We are extremely delighted to be able to expand the offerings that we have on the platform. As you heard Raphael just now speak about the ones that have been in existence since last year, we are now pleased to be able to offer courses that span agriculture, that span the climate change, waste and water management. We want to be able to expand the opportunities for teachers, and only this week, notwithstanding the fact that that is part of another partnership, we were also able to launch the 21st Century Educators Hub that ensures that our teachers also have the opportunity to do the kind of training that they may not have the opportunity to do on a regular basis. Now it is no longer a case of them having to wait until the Easter vacation to be able to do training at Erdeston Teachers Training College. Anytime, anywhere, anyhow they like kind of study is what is available to them on Coursera, as well as to all of you. It is training at your own pace, learning without limits, Matt, and it really provides you with the opportunity to be able to do more than you might ordinarily have done, because you might have had to leave your homes to go somewhere to study. You might have had to go and do some kind of other training to be able to enter an institution. Now it requires none of that. All it requires is that you have a device. The ability to log on to training.nti.org and be able to do more. We have courses, we were talking about the ability to do financial training. We have the kind of training that allows for persons who are in the financial sector to improve themselves. The opportunity for those who are interested in health and wellness to improve themselves. The opportunity for those who are involved in sports to understand not just sports in terms of its wellness and its ability to support the body, but also the business of sports. How many of us are involved in sports or watch sportsmen overseas, but don't recognize that there is that opportunity for business opportunity in Barbados for persons who are in sports, or sports administrators themselves have the benefit of that kind of training. Governance is another issue that is, of course, something we need to be able to ensure that our institutions are not just resilient but strengthened, and those who run them understand what they have to do. So governance, legal, this is the kind of thing that is generally not available to the average citizen. But you too, as well as they, are able to find the information on our platform and learn more about what we have to offer. This is just a snapshot. And for the media, we want them to also know that we are also providing courses that strengthen the ability of our media to function in a way that demonstrates that they are capable of functioning in Barbados, but also as global citizens as they represent Barbados on the world stage. So this is just a small snapshot. And once we leave here this afternoon, I'm sure that all of you, in fact, before you even leave, are going to be going to our platform to look and see what is there for you. And whether you are in an institution, whether you're doing it at home, whether you're doing it in your community with somebody who's your friend or your family or your youth group, these are all courses that are accessible to you. They are free of cost, or well, free of cost to you. They have already been paid for by the government of Barbados, but they ensure that you have the kind of training that enhances your skills, that retools you for now and for the future. So this is the kind of opportunity that we want to make sure that you take the fullest advantage of. So thank you so much. So I now also take on my other role, which is to offer the vote of thanks. And I want to say, first of all, Prime Minister Motley, some of you are young, and some of the information that I'm about to share may not be as common for you, but I want to say that in the 1950s, His Excellency Grantley Herbert Adams opened the door for secondary education to many who had not had that benefit in his role as Premier. By the next decade, in his role as Premier, universal access to education at the secondary level became free to Barbadians. Prime Minister, you talked about the reestablishment of free education at the tertiary level 3 years ago at UWI. What you have done is the reintroduction, in terms of your vision, to global and universal access in Barbados to online education at scale. I think this represents a watershed moment in the same way that we talk about Grantley Adams and we talk about Errol Barrow. This access to universal education via our online platforms is in fact a watershed moment that I believe will be spoken of in the same way that we have spoken about our other prime ministers. And for that, we thank you. As rough as your day has been, your commitment to being here this afternoon speaks volumes. And we do remember that last year, none of us could be in person to deliver the kind of remarks that we wanted to when we had May Day celebrations. We were able to do it, but it was not in person. So thank you very much for being here this afternoon. Your desire to signal to Barbados that the route to us becoming global citizens is through training. Your call for active citizenship is critical for our participation in the new republic. And as we make our impression on the world, thank you for your reminder that we must credibly assert that Barbadians are capable of commanding jobs around the world, and your challenge to Barbadians to become fully upskilled in globally in-demand skills is timely. We look forward to you continuing your learning journey in your languages on the NTi Coursera platform. And should you, Prime Minister, should your time become limited, there is the opportunity to reset deadlines so that it is not a case of having run out of time. There is that function on the platform that if you should run out of that time, you can reset your deadlines and continue your training. So thank you so much. I thank you also for having recognized the role that the NTi is playing in helping Barbadians to become world-class citizens by 2030, but for your personal acknowledgement of Tahir, yes, but also Adrian Green, whose role in trying to ensure that Barbadians grow but also remain rooted is extremely important to us. So thank you so much for your acknowledgement. This represents the new future for Barbados and gives Barbadians the opportunity to be the best that they can be, to be Starbadians at the primary, tertiary, and secondary levels. So thank you again, Prime Minister. Honorable Tony Moore, education and training have always been at the core of the Barbados Workers' Union's reason for being. The promotion of workers' education for improvement of quality of life for all its members has been a priority for yourselves in your 80 years. Your presence this year again signals your endorsement of the value of the partnership between ourselves for the benefit of the workers of Barbados, who have all got the opportunity to grow their skills using the NTi Coursera platform. Research suggests that workers who need training do not have ready access to it. The NTi goes a long way to correct that imbalance, putting training directly in the hands of workers, whether to strengthen their current careers or in any areas, personal or professional. Our May Day launch last year with the BWU is something that we remember and recall, but now we are welcome in your constituency. Coursera's support in helping us to develop and reskill Barbadians to meet the demands of a changing environment and to help companies as well figure out how to do things differently is something that we all welcome. It affects us whether we are ourselves working in those companies or have others who work in those companies. And our ability to find new skills, to be adaptable, flexible, as well as have the mindset change, these are all central, and you've recognized that as well in your own remarks this afternoon. Your encouragement to Barbadians to take courses, as well as your example in doing so yourself, is welcome, and we thank you as well. Thank you so much. And to Matt. We have become friends with Matt over the last week, as well as the rest of the team. Learning without limits. The door is open for us to learn a way that has never been available to so many, in particular to adults who may have thought that their path and their school years were ended. You are never too good to get better. Remember that saying, never too good to get better, and you can attribute that to Adrian Green. From our first introduction in 2021 to the present, Matt, your partnership has been exemplary, notwithstanding the 100 million learners and the 100 governments you serve across the world. There has never been a time in our partnership that we have not felt that the unique needs of Barbadians have not been considered. That is a unique opportunity that we have benefited from, and your approach to dealing with us as a country and dealing with us as a very small team has been exemplary. So I want to say thank you. And by virtue of saying thank you to you, I also say thank you to Chad Pasha, to Nicole Amaral, and to Patrick Whitaker as other members of the team who have worked strenuously and vigorously and for long hours with us to help us to be where we are today. in all of the challenge laid out for the country, a comprehensive retooling is what we need. And the digital education that is the gateway to those opportunities are what are provided on our Coursera platform. Those, as Matt said, who are on the wrong side of the digital divide have the opportunity, with the opportunities that are here in the community development centers, computer rooms, wherever you have the opportunity to take advantage of these courses, even if you may find yourself not able to have your own personal device, don't miss the opportunity to use these centers all across Barbados that are available to you. And Matt, we are grateful to you for your continued support, as well as the support of the rest of the team. Last but not least, in the context of our head table, Director, I just wanted to acknowledge your leadership over the past 2 years, the long nights, the fact that you don't sleep, as far as we know, to ensure that the work of the NTi is available to Barbadians, and I say this as well to the rest of the NTi team here, who in their several ways are continuing to do the work that is nation building. Do not think for one moment that the work that you do is work that is slighted. It is work that is critical in ensuring that Barbadians are skilled and retooled and ready for the now and ready for the future. I take this opportunity as well to thank the media for your presence. We will open the floor for any questions that you may have, but I wanted to thank you sincerely for your presence and for helping us to get the word about NTi and its courses out to the rest of Barbados. And clearly, we will be continuing to come to you to ensure that that knowledge is made available to as many Barbadians as possible. Thank you so much this evening, ladies and gentlemen, for having come, and I trust that you will all stay for the roadshow that we have planned for you this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcel. As she indicated, we will transition into our question and answer segment at this time, and we'd want to open to members of the media. As you're asking your questions, please just identify yourself, the institution you represent, and then you can go right ahead and ask your question.
Good evening, Wendy Burke, Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. Prime Minister, you have been encouraging our young people to get involved in the citizenship course, but I'm sure there are also some among us who are a bit older, who still have a lot to learn about our country. And I'm just wondering, with this knowledge that's being imparted now and these free courses which are ongoing, how you see it moving us further into being a first world nation and ensuring that that weight which you say we punch above it, we actually begin to weigh.
Thank you. As I said, Wendy, I took the citizenship module. And as a result of taking it, I was able to feed back in that I wanted more elements of civics in it as well. And I'm told that there's one now that is upgraded to include elements of the parliamentary republic. And I intend to take that one shortly again as well. When we started the IMF program, and General Secretary, you will recall because you sit on the BERT committee, I think, we set out to do what we call retool, empower, retrain, and franchise. This government has been seeking to retool and retrain you through not just the National Transformation Initiative, but through the free education, again, commitments at UWI, Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute, and the Barbados Community College, and our work with the Open Learning Campus of the University of the West Indies. Similarly, we have been seeking to enfranchise you by giving you access and opportunities with respect to the HOPE program in terms of home ownership, providing energy, with respect to what is now an entitlement for a homeowner to have a renewable energy stake, either through a photovoltaic panel on their roof or a small wind turbine, because we believe that the patrimony of the country, that the wind, the sun, the rain, the sea are all part of the patrimony of the country, so that we believe that we should not be seeking to give licenses out without taking care of ordinary Barbadian homeowners first. And we sought to empower people through a range of measures that are too long for me to mention here this evening, but which you know has been chronicled by this government. The next step is for us, and our unemployment having shot up in the air at the beginning of COVID, is back down, I believe, to 10.9%, which is good, but not good enough. And therefore, that's why I said we've come a long way, but we've not gone where we want to go yet. And that's why I've doubled the challenge this year to you. And I hope that by the third year, I'll be able to say 100,000. Why? Because I fundamentally believe that Barbadians must be able to access jobs wherever they are on this earth. When we set out to establish in 2020 August the Welcome Stamp initiative to encourage remote work and digital nomads, it wasn't only to be a recipient of it. It was also to send a message to Bajans that just as people could come here and do remote work, that you could stay here and do remote work for companies too. And therefore, the only issue would be the skill set. That is why we have invested in the middle of an IMF program when others don't normally do this, in upgrading the skills. And I want to say that I haven't gone to other steps, but the Minister of Finance is very clear. All who we are paying for must not only give back, but must also do the citizenship module. I have no doubt that there may be other entities that may well want to follow the Minister of Finance's example, like the National Insurance Scheme, that if you want to be able to benefit from certain benefits, then show that you have done the citizenship module. The other modules, up to you. But citizenship, if you want the benefit of being a world-class Bajan citizen, then you must carry with you the burden of understanding what active Bajan citizenship must be about, both in terms of excellence, but also in terms of empathy and caring, and the ability to live and let live with everybody, because that is who we are on 166 square miles. And that's the only way we're going to live good on 166 square miles. So I hope you will join me, and the next time I see you, you will tell me that you have finished the citizenship module as well. It doesn't take a lot of time. I urge the members of the media, because if you're going to report on something, you need to report on it from the basis of knowledge and not hearsay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Wendy. The floor is open, so the members of the media are free to raise any questions that you have and direct those questions to any members of the panel to whom you'd wish to direct them. It seems as though our presentations were quite comprehensive this afternoon.
Or that the media wants a course for them.
If I can dovetail from what the Prime Minister mentioned, a part of our Phase 2 rollout is the Media Academy. And so there is a dedicated program that has been created to assist members of the media in upskilling. You're never too good to get better, as my friend says. I'll just give a few more seconds if there are any other members of the media who are formulating their questions. And while you do that, I'll remind you, or the members of the public, yes, thank you very much, Prime Minister and Dr. Leacock. You're free as well if you do have any questions you want to raise or ask. Those areas that are now being addressed and covered under Phase 2 of our course launch. You have agriculture, and I'll tag in there agribusiness, building and construction. You heard Dr. Leacock mention the construction gateway that has been established, amazing partnership. Climate change and environmental management. We have a dedicated program for financial advisors, health and wellness, legal practitioners and governance, manufacturing and retail, the Media Academy, as I mentioned, and also the Sports Academy. Yes, just 1 second, please. I just wanted to ensure we were doing the correct thing from a protocol perspective. A microphone is coming around to you, so you'll be able to ask your question. Just please identify yourself by name and then go ahead and pose your question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Marshall. I am a registered nurse, a registered midwife, and a public health nurse. And my question this evening, under the area of health and wellness, are there any specific course that would be geared towards the development of nursing or for the advancing of the nursing practice in Barbados? Particularly, the emphasis is on the postpartum period, which I've noticed has not had as great amount of emphasis, but is indeed very important in terms of rehabilitating our women after they've delivered.
There are courses for nursing, is that the question?
Yes.
I didn't hear the full question.
I've looked at your website and I've seen integrative nursing. I've looked at the website and I've seen the integrative nursing, but I was wondering if there are other nursing courses specifically for the development of nursing in the region.
Yes.
And by the way, it's Nurses Day today, so happy Nurses Day to those persons that are listening.
Happy Nurses Day to all the nurses who may be in the room. Yes, there are courses specifically for nurses that can be included in the Health and Wellness Academy as well. And there are ones around general caregiving within nursing, but also things like nursing informatics if you want to go in a different direction with your nursing career as well and advance in a digital way as well. So I definitely encourage you to check it out, see what's there, and if there are things that you don't find in there that you're looking for that might be on the Coursera platform, they can be added to the Academy as well.
Well, thank you very much for your answer.
Thanks, Nicole. I'll just add to what Nicole said just at the end there. I don't want persons to have the opinion, whether members of the public or even persons in the media, that we have a finite or set list of courses or content on the platform. One of the things we've done over this year, over this year I'd say, is to have an iterative approach. As we discover new areas of need and as we hear from learners, we have both our NTi LMS or Learning Platform e-learner support advisor here, Tahir Bulbulia, as well as Randy Clark, who works in our e-learner support on the Coursera side. And both of them are our eyes and ears. And so we've been listening to the feedback from learners. And as we grow throughout this partnership, we will continue to adopt that kind of approach. By iterative, I just mean we add as we see the need. And as persons like you communicate with us and we become aware of other areas that we might want to add, ways that we can bolster those programs, we're happy to hear that feedback. It helps us to ensure the program is targeted and it makes sense for you and can have real impact. Yes, Tamara, the microphone is coming around to you. Just your first and last name, and then go right ahead and ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon. Tyrell Jones. I guess it's more of a twofold approach. I was very impressed when I heard about the move towards e-governance and e-government with these courses as the direction the world seems to be going is big data and the knowledge economy. However, I just wanted to ask, is there any consideration given to particular vulnerable sections of society, whereas these courses can be used to tackle the high dependency on welfare, etc., in some communities, so that whereas persons take these courses, we're not only making them first-class and world-class citizens, but we're also easing the social services which we so heavily depend on in certain communities. So I was just asking if there's any consideration given to that.
I'm going to let the others answer, but just let me say to you that when I speak about first class and global and world class, I'm not talking about bright people like you. I'm talking about ordinary people being able to move from wherever they are in this country to being global citizens. And the truth is that once there's a pathway and building blocks, they can do it. So this is not to be seen as only for people who got CXCs or university degrees. This is for each and every citizen of Barbados who has both interest and capacity. We're matching it with opportunity. Please.
Thank you for that really thoughtful question, because it is one of the dimensions that keeps us up at night. We recognize that there are some people who are naturally going to be excited by what is available, and they will learn, they will log on. But for us, the real transformation is going to be exciting and engaging the same sector that you have identified. You heard Matt mention earlier the number of ministries with whom we met. And just yesterday evening, our very last meeting in a day of 8 meetings with ministers and their departments was the Ministry of Elder Affairs and People Empowerment, and all of the heads of department in that ministry, including the National Disabilities Unit, welfare, etc. And they all raised this matter, that we must reach those individuals who traditionally are perceived as also rands. You know, incidental. For us, they're central to transformation, because those who enjoy learning will do so. So for us, as we add the challenge that the Prime Minister has thrown out to us, we are very mindful that we have to find creative ways of doing this. We talked about a blended approach, where we have facilitators available to assist, and indeed our outreach into the communities will be one central factor as well. There are courses online that can complement face-to-face approaches, but ultimately we want to make sure that we have the needs of the particular areas met, and that is through private authoring as well. So it's on our radar in a very real sense. So thank you for raising it.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent question. We do have another question from the audience.
Not a question, but more as to touch on what Tyrell would have mentioned. I'm happy to be joining the team at NTi, and in regards to happy to be joining the team at NTi. And many of you may know me probably as Bev, and that is one of the approaches that will be going on with normal everyday people in the community. And if you're like me, that I was never academically inclined. I used to always use my good looks, and I knew how to talk. And that worked for me. And I remember having a conversation with the team where we talked about people, again, who may not be, maybe a little moved away, but maybe this is something that you have to be smart or super intelligent to do. And I'm happy to share in this initiative. And even for me that hate school, I had never liked school. But I've always gained a lot and learned a lot from the opportunities at school, like different programs. So Key Club, you had things like Toastmasters. And I'm so happy for this because education has always been the greatest equalizer in Barbados. And I'm happy that Coursera and NTi is here to partner with this, that the average Bajan can learn a little something. And as Beth will say, and the Prime Minister would say, increase and incline your mind to common sense and to learn different new things. And I'm happy for this, that again, many people could come on board and learn something, maybe as a construction worker, a hairdresser, a person, a coconut vendor. You know, you could learn so many small skills and travel, do so many different things with the knowledge that you would benefit from this initiative. So I'm happy to be a part of this journey and to be able to help many work, and many hands make light work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bev. The state of you. We're extremely pleased to have Bev on board exactly for that reason. And Alison is correct. We are keen on making sure there is no too high threshold that anyone feels they have to jump over or cross to access this. In fact, a part of our partnership with Coursera, if you've ever heard of a company called Google, they offered 20,000 scholarships alongside what the government of Barbados invested in. And those 20,000 scholarships were packaged as social impact scholarships to be made available to persons from all kinds of different demographics. No learning qualifications required. You don't have to come in with 10 CXCs, bachelor's degrees. You can come in as a complete novice or beginner. And these programs will take you from beginner all the way through to advanced. So we are aiming at being catered to all types of individuals from all types of contexts and backgrounds. And as the Prime Minister mentioned, I think we're going to be taking a much more global perspective as it relates to our push to ensure that every Barbadian in every corner of society is fully aware of the opportunities available through the NTi and Coursera. All right. I think it's my pleasure now to thank you so much for your time, for your attention, and your presence here today. As you know, we're transitioning into a more informational component of our meeting this afternoon. We don't want anybody to move a muscle. We don't want you to run away. It's our pleasure, really, to transition into a period now where we're going to be showing you some more detail, a bit more of the nuts and bolts of how you can actually get registered, start your first course, explore a bit of the platform. I hope that all of you who are here would have already got the Wi-Fi password and you're connected, and we want you to start exploring the site along with us. So I think I'll give way at this time for the head table. Let me run the thing. All right. So thank you so much again. We're going to transition into our presentation component where the members of our team are going to have the opportunity to showcase to you what the platform can really do. I believe the Prime Minister may be adjusting her position, but she's not leaving us.